The greenhouse stood at the edge of the map. Not on any landscape she had ever known, but in the space between understanding and intuition. It rose out of the morning mist like a breath, its glass walls streaked with light, its iron framework etched with runes that resembled both vines and constellations. Ella arrived with no guide, no coordinates, only the soft pull in her chest that said, "This way." A plaque by the gate read, "The Cartographer's Greenhouse, where maps are grown, not drawn." She stepped inside. Warmth wrapped around her. The air was rich with scent, wet soil, citrus leaves, something like ink and memory. Birds she couldn't name flitted among hanging ferns. Water trickled somewhere, always out of sight. The path beneath her feet wasn't stone. It was roots. They pulsed faintly with light. To her left, a tree shaped like an open hand bore fruit that glowed with indecision. A small sign beneath it read, "Crossroads of 12-year-old you." She reached for a fruit and instantly saw a version of herself choosing the other school, a new friend, a different notebook filled with different dreams. She let the fruit fall. To her right, moss covered a series of terracotta tiles, each etched with a single word. Anger, curiosity, grief, wonder. Vines grew between them, connecting one emotion to the next. She stepped carefully, realizing with each step that her feet were walking her history. Further in, a gardener appeared. They wore a coat stitched with thread maps, some leading into oceans, some into forests, some into the hollows of a heart. "Welcome," the gardener said. Ella asked, "What is this place?" The gardener smiled. "Every emotion, every decision, every silence you've ever grown through, has taken root here. You are not reading a map. You are walking 1 inch." They handed her a lantern. "It glows only when you tell yourself the truth." She held it. It flickered. She whispered, "I am still searching." The lantern burned steady. They parted ways. The path split into 3. She took the middle. On either side of her grew shrubs with leaves shaped like phrases. "I almost said something. I let go too soon. I stayed too long." She touched one. It crumbled into dust. The wind picked it up, whispered it into the soil. New shoots grew instantly, bold, sharp-edged, gold-veined. She entered the dome of loss. Here flowers bloomed only at night. They curled into themselves when touched. Each petal held an image. Her childhood dog's final day. A friendship faded without a reason. The silence after a long goodbye. At the center, a well. Instead of water, it held echoes. She leaned in. Heard herself say, "I'm okay." Then heard what she hadn't said. "But I'm tired of pretending." She left the dome with lighter shoulders. The next chamber held tall stalks of grass that bent only to truth. She walked. They bent. Then rose. She came upon a tree carved with names she had once given herself. Too much, not enough, almost. She touched each one. A spark leapt from her fingers to the bark. The names burned away. New growth appeared, becoming here whole. The greenhouse opened into a glass rotunda. At its center, a giant seed suspended in light. A sign beneath it. "This is the self you haven't met yet." Ella reached for it. The light pulsed. Visions poured into her. A mountain she hadn't climbed. A kindness she hadn't yet received. A version of herself laughing without fear. She wept. Not out of sadness, but because she saw, at last, how all paths had led here. The gardener returned. You've mapped more than memories, they said. You've mapped possibility. Ella nodded. As she stepped back toward the entrance, the walls of the greenhouse shimmered. They were covered in patterns now. Her patterns. Not just where she had been, but where she had dared to imagine. Outside, the world hadn't changed. But she had. In her hand, the lantern still glowed. She whispered, "Thank you for showing me that the most important maps are the ones grown slowly from within."